En un principio fue Ruanda quien solicitó la creación del Tribunal Internacional. Luego cambió de opinión. A esta altura, en 2007, lo que Ruanda quiere es que cerremos y le transferamos los casos para juzgarlos ellos.
So in Rwanda, you have the international court, you have national prosecutions, and you have Gacaca, their own village justice system.
In Rwanda, we thought we could try the classical courts. But we were dealing with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases in the country. Very complicated cases of genocide, crimes against humanity, massive rape everywhere, used as an instrument of genocide. And so it became very difficult for our ordinary courts to handle. Too many cases, very few judges, very few prosecutors, very few investigators, and very limited resources to do that. So after examining our situation, our people decided that the best way to sort out genocide is to go back to our roots, to our culture. That's how Gacaca was introduced. Because Gacaca is an old Rwandan judicial system that existed before the colonialists. It retained the principal aspects of the Rwandan justice before colonial time. The guilty is punished. The victim is rehabilitated, but the two are brought together again and they are reconciled. That is the history of Gacaca. Gacaca means it's a raw grass. Huh? You sit on the grass, in the open, under the tree, public, because Gacaca is an open public, open grass. Discuss issues and find solutions.
The tribunal for Rwanda can continue and finish his task, but although that the national authorities, the criminal national authorities, must be able to continue to conduct investigation and trials against the suspects, perpetrators.
La experiencia de enfrentarse al horror de los hechos ocurridos en 1994 ha dejado huellas profundas en los miembros del tribunal.
The most difficult things at that time was not to deal with the emotion, but to deal with the reality of the investigations. The events took place in 94, and we were there in 96, 2 years after. You know, in any country when there is a crime, the police or the investigator are there immediately, right after the events, to start investigating because everything is, smoking. But we went to Kigali 2 years after to start the investigations. So we were dealing with the trauma, not the reality of the crime. You understand what I'm saying? And now you're talking to people and try to have them remember what happened 2 years ago. It was not sometimes easy. And it's just like digging in a wound, because you're putting on surface things they were supposed to forget or they wanted to forget. Now you put it back together.
I found that when I went to Rwanda, it affected me deeply, because I found that every single person that I spoke to had a story, a very deep and intense story. And you really feel the depth of the tragedy when you're there and you meet the people and you see the level of poverty and you see all the different factors which might have come into play during the war and during the genocide.
And I confess that I think these are nice individuals, But of course, there came a time when they were not nice, and some of them were proved now to have blood on their hands. I'm thinking of Mika Muhimana, for example, who is almost like Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. When Mika Muhimana arrived at the hill for another day's worth of cutting, he was seen by someone hiding in a bush 20 meters away. There was a witness. And he saw Paskazi was caught in the bushes and brought down from the hill.
Paskazi, Muka, Remera, shown by the evidence to have been affected by using a machete to cut her from her breasts to her genitals.
When the judgment was given by the judge from Pakistan, she was having great difficulty controlling her voice.
The foregoing reasons.
But I was watching with some other judges who were not in that case, watching from a video in the judge's lounge. And I noticed that I could hear a sniffling noise. I looked around, and the judges who were with me were all crying.
The rape is also the crime that has my particular attention, because difficult to prove, because in the Rwandan culture, a person who has testified to be victim of rape is excluded from the family, from the society, is banned, is someone who is guilty of something, someone who cannot organize her or life normally, cannot have a family normally. And so this person, if they decide to come and testify, has to take a very courageous decision and has to consider all these risks and consequences. But sometimes it's involving a decision at level of also not only professional but as human being, because what is in the balance, what is the best to ensure that this crime will be prosecuted properly, or to leave the victim living her life. This is a decision, heavy decision.
Mr. Witness, you're aware that if you testify under your own name, everybody will know that you testified here today.
Je le sens bien. Moi, j'habite dans la préfecture de Gisenyi.
I live in the Gisenyi prefecture.
Las historias, a medida que pasa el tiempo, van teniendo como un impacto mayor. Creo que en un primer momento las miré más como espectadora, y a medida que pasa el tiempo van siendo más parte de mi personalidad. Ya no como juez que tiene que resolver el caso, sino como algo que he vivido a través de otras personas y que se ha incorporado a mi forma de ser. Creo que ninguno de nosotros vuelve a ser la misma persona que llegó años atrás al tribunal. Cambia todo, cambia la manera de ver el mundo y cambia también lo que uno considera que es imprescindible para poder vivir.
Please be seated.
Simón Bikindi es uno de los acusados del tribunal.
Les enfants, les innocents, les enfants au monde de demain, les enfants. Les enfants n'aiment pas la guerre, et la guerre, elle n'aime pas les enfants. Avant de la leur dire légitime, songez aux enfants qu'elle les décime, aux orphelins qu'elle produit, et aux bambés qu'elle les rend sauvages, en les rendant précocement militaires.
I'm representing a man called Bikindi Simo, and he is a musician, and he is accused of having composed songs, the words of which are said by the prosecution to have incited hatred against the Tutsi population. In addition to the allegation in relation to his songs, he's also accused of going to various locations within a prefecture within Rwanda and ordering the killing of certain Tutsi individuals. Those are the charges against Mr. Bikindi.
Bikindi fue un importante músico popular cuyas canciones tuvieron enorme éxito en la década del 90. Su música sonaba todo el día por la radio, que era el medio de difusión más importante del país, y cuya función principal era llevar a la población mensajes de temor y odio hacia los tutsis, a quienes se llamaba cucarachas. En sus canciones, Bikindi se dirigía a sus hermanos hutus y los instigaba a detener a los tutsis utilizando todos los medios que fueran necesarios. En una cultura de profunda tradición oral como la ruandesa, el impacto de las canciones, permanentemente transmitidas por la radio, se tradujo en una importante penetración de esas ideas en la sociedad.
Iki kibazo kirakomeye kuko ibyitso biri mu ngabo z'igihugu nibyo biriho bituma igihugu inyenzi ryo zijagata igihugu cyacu.
Je pense que ce que je changerais peut-être c'est le comportement et surtout la manière de chanter. Parce que je me dis que si j'avais une occasion, la première occasion qui s'offrirait, c'est de m'asseoir et d'écrire des chansons chargées de leçons pour que les gens apprennent à aimer. À ne pas le mal de la guerre. Je serai vraiment le porteur de la parole. Je porterai le message de cesser la guerre.
En 1993, Bikindi compuso una canción emblemática que tiene dos títulos: El despertar o Yo odio a los hutus moderados. Según palabras del propio Bikindi, su canción nunca tuvo dos nombres, sino solo El despertar, y han sido las traducciones del Kinyarwanda al inglés y al francés las que han traicionado y modificado el sentido original de sus canciones. En su juicio, Bikindi ha dicho que cuando compuso El despertar, quiso sensibilizar a la población ruandesa en general y a la masa campesina en particular, para que se levantara como un solo hombre en defensa de su tierra. Fue esa masa popular la que participó activamente en las matanzas de 1994.
Abantu tubona bakorana n'inkotanyi ni Sebukinganda wa Butete muri Kidaho. Lawrence n'umugore wa Kenyeri ku bisondera rwije konseye wa Butete nakorana n'inkotanyi ntaguma inkotanyi ifite akabare kuri komine Kidaho. Abasore mu
Inés juzga otro caso muy complejo y de amplias implicancias políticas. Se trata de las acusaciones contra Prote Sigirangiraso, conocido como Mr. Z, cuñado del presidente Hutu asesinado en 1994.
Number 3 of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, composed of Judge Weinberg de Roca presiding, for the continuation of the trial in the matter of the prosecutor versus Prote Sigirangiraso, case number ICTR-2001-73-T. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Sigirangiraso.
Bonjour Madame le Président, bonjour honorable juge, je vous remercie beaucoup.
Mr. Z está acusado de haber indicado cortes en calles y carreteras para impedir la huida de tutsis y de haberlos asesinado en varias de sus residencias.
La acusación es que como hermano mayor de la viuda fue la mente detrás de la organización del genocidio.